The ship landed quietly in the green valley behind the Human Science Center. No sound. No fire. No warning. Just a shining silver dome, floating slowly down like a feather in the air. Lights blinked. The metal opened like a flower. And from the soft blue mist, she walked out. Her name was Princess Théala of Zortax, tall, silver-skinned, and too perfect to look human. Her white hair moved like silk in the wind. Her eyes, big and glowing purple, didn't blink. Jake Foster, a young human biologist, stood waiting with a tablet in his hand. He looked up and froze. This alien wasn't like the others they'd seen before. She wasn't here for war. She wasn't here to sell weapons. She was here to learn. And still, she looked like a queen stepping into a jungle. Théla walked down the ramp slowly, scanning everything. Grass, trees, a butterfly, and then a young couple near the trees, laughing, playing, and holding hands. The girl jumped on the boy's back. He laughed, fell, and pulled her into a kiss. Théla stopped. Her mouth opened slightly. Her royal AI whispered in her mind, "Warning. Primitive mating ritual detected. Duration, 3.2 seconds. Purpose, unknown." Jake noticed her expression. "Oh, that's normal here. People, you kick us a lot." Ayla stared at him. "Why?" Jake blinked. "Why? What?" she asked. Again, slower. "Why? Do you touch mouths in public?" He smiled awkwardly. "It's called affection. A sign of emotional bonding." Ayla blinked twice. "Strange species," she whispered. 2 days earlier, Earth and the Zortax Empire signed the Galactic Study Exchange Program. Every year, one alien would live with a human. One human would live with an alien. This was not a war. This was peace through understanding. And Princess Théla? She chose Earth, the most dangerous, emotional, and unpredictable planet in the Alliance. Zortax Command told her, "Observe the humans, record their behavior, do not engage, do not connect." She accepted with no hesitation. But now standing in front of Jake and watching people laugh, run, hug, and touch, she felt something odd, a small flutter in her chest. Heartbeat increase, 2.4x, possible atmospheric error. The AI noted. Jake guided her to the science center. He was chosen as her Earth guide. He was young, honest, and deeply curious about alien biology. But he never expected an alien to look like her. "You can stay in the guest house," Jake said, trying to keep his eyes on her face. Théla nodded. "This area is unclean. I suggest level 3 sterilization." Jake chuckled. "Well, it's nature. Humans kind of live with the mess." Théla turned her head. "Live with mess? Unacceptable." Jake smiled. "You're gonna love it." "Here." She didn't answer. That evening, Jake gave her a tour. Children were playing in the yard. Old people were walking dogs. Music floated from a nearby house. Théla stopped again. "Why are they making noise with instruments?" "It's called music," Jake replied. "It helps us feel things." "Feel what?" "Happy, sad, alive." She looked at the children. One little girl ran to her and handed her a flower. A simple yellow daisy. Théla stared at it like it was a weapon. "Gift protocol engaged," the AI said. "Accept politely." She took the flower. The child smiled and ran off. Théla held the flower up. "This activates happiness?" Jake laughed. "Sometimes, yeah." She stared at the petals in silence. Later that night, Théla stood in the room given to her. She watched Earth's moon from the window. Jake's voice echoed in her memory. "Sometimes we just feel alive." Her people didn't feel. Zortax engineers had removed emotions long ago. No wars. No chaos. No heartbreak. Only perfect logic, perfect order. Yet, this planet was full of chaos, laughter, shouting, hugs, tears, and still, Earth hadn't fallen apart. She looked down at the daisy in her hand. Why do they live this way? She whispered. No answer came from her. AI. She wasn't sure she wanted one. The next morning. Jake found her sitting alone under a tree. Good morning, princess. She didn't turn. I watched 3 pairs of humans hug in the last 4.2 minutes. Jake sat beside her. Yeah, we like to connect. Thaela asked, do you hug only when mating? Jake laughed. No, we hug family, friends, even pets. She turned her head slowly. Fascinating. Jake offered her a cup of coffee. She took it, sniffed it, frowned, then took a sip. Her eyes widened. What is this? Jake smiled. It's a fuel of Earth. For the first time, Thaela smiled. Just a little. The morning sun filtered through the trees. Birds sang, and the soft wind played with the leaves. Princess Thaela of Zortax sat silently at the wooden table outside the science center, sipping her 3rd cup of Earth fuel. Coffee. Jake Foster, the human biologist, approached. With a smile. Good morning, princess. You slept okay? I did not sleep, Thaela replied calmly. I reviewed 30 hours of human behavior footage. I needed answers. Jake raised an eyebrow. Oh? Find anything useful? She looked up at him. You people touch too much. Jake blinked. What? She tilted her head. Hugging, hand-holding, shoulder tapping, lip pressing, even back. Slapping. Why do humans touch so often, and without mating? Jake chuckled. It's how we show feelings, comfort, friendship, love, support. She leaned forward slightly. You mean, mating is not required for this touching? Nope. Jake said, sometimes a hug just means I'm here for you. No mating involved. Thaela stared at her own hand. Slowly, she reached across the table and touched Jake's fingers. He froze. Did I do it correctly? She asked. Jake nodded, surprised. Yeah, that's a normal gesture. Hand touching is kind of friendly. Her fingers pulled back quickly. Strange, but not unpleasant. Jake smiled. Well, welcome to humanity. Later that day, Thaela walked with Jake through the local park. Her glowing suit turned dim silver to blend with the people. Still, everyone stared. Children waved. A teenager tried to take a selfie with her. An old woman handed her a bag of cookies. What is this obsession with offering items? She asked Jake. It's kindness, he said. Sharing is a sign of goodwill here. As they sat near a fountain, a boy fell off his bike nearby and scraped his knee. He cried out. Jake quickly rushed to help, lifting the boy and calming him. A woman, the mother, arrived and hugged Jake with watery eyes. Thank you, thank you. Thaela stood frozen. So much touching, so much emotion, all because of a small injury. That night, in her private room, Thaela replayed the moment on her holographic screen. Subject, Jake Foster. Behavior, physical. Touch initiated without request. Purpose, comfort. Response, positive emotional reaction from child and parent. Result, increased emotional bonding. She whispered to herself. But what is the gain? There was no trade, no order, no protocol. She placed her hand on her chest. Her heart beat faster. Emotional contamination. Stage 1. Symptoms: curiosity, empathy. Risk level: moderate. Her royal AI warned. She ignored it. The next day, Jake invited her to a local dance event. She sat beside him in the community hall, watching the humans move, laugh, and hold hands with music playing. What is this ritual? She asked. Dancing, he said. It's joy in motion. The beat. changed. A slow song started. Couples came closer. Hands touched waists. Eyes locked. Thela leaned toward Jake. Are they mating? Jake laughed. No, they're just feeling close. Intimacy without mating. She frowned. Intimacy with no physical goal? No reproduction? No strategic bond? Jake nodded. Just feeling. That's enough for us. Thela looked around again. The humans weren't just dancing. They were smiling. Glowing dot, she whispered. It's beautiful. Outside, as they walked back in silence, Jake noticed Thela staring at the stars. Thinking about something? He asked Dot. She replied softly, Your people confuse me. You are soft. And yet, your history is full of survival. War, pain, loss, and still you choose to touch, to connect. Why? Jake looked at her for a long moment, because after all that pain, connection is what kept us human. She didn't answer, but her hand reached toward his again. This time, she didn't pull back. The next morning, she watched a video Jake had left playing on his tablet. A scene from an old Earth movie. In it, a man hugged his dying friend and whispered, You are like a brother to me. Tears fell from the actor's eyes. Thela leaned forward and whispered, He is not mating, but still, he cries. Her AI beeped again. Emotional contamination. Stage 2. Symptoms, empathy, behavioral mimicry. Risk level, high. She ignored the warning. Instead, she touched her own cheek, where a small warm tear had begun to form. That night, she wrote a message in her private log. Human touch is not weakness. It is connection, and I fear I no longer understand who I am without it. The next morning, Princess Thyla sat in the garden outside the science center. She held a small notepad, watching two humans walk by holding hands, their fingers gently locked together. The woman laughed. The man kissed her on the cheek. Thela stared. Her voice was flat, but her words were sharp. They do it again. Morning contact. No reason, no reproduction, just connection. Jake, standing nearby with a cup of coffee, smiled. That's what couples do. Thela turned. Your species continues to confuse me. Jake grinned. Oh, we haven't even gotten to the weird part. She narrowed her eyes. Explain. Jake thought for a moment. Well, humans don't mate on a schedule. No set season. No royal ritual. No permission needed. Thela blinked slowly. Wait, you're saying... He nodded. Yeah, we, can mate year-round. She froze. Her mouth opened. Year-round mating? She repeated, voice louder than usual. A nearby child turned and giggled. Jake blushed. Yeah. Not all the time, obviously. But there's no single cycle. It's kind of whenever people feel close. Thela stood completely still. Her mind raced. The Royal A, I panicked. Alert. High-risk contamination zone. Human bonding practices violate Zorthak's logical structure. Recommend extraction. She ignored it. Later in the lab, she reviewed human mating data. Jake had left several books and movies on her desk, romantic stories, scientific papers, and something called relationship blogs. She read aloud, Love is more than biology. It's choosing the same soul every day. She frowned. This sounds unstable. Then she played a video. A couple sat in a park, smiling and talking. I love you. A man said, I love you more. The woman replied. They laughed. Then kissed. No mating. No child. Just love. Thela touched her temple. Her heart pounded strangely. Emotion spike detected. Breathing irregular. Name this feeling, she whispered. That evening, Jake invited her for a walk. The sky was orange. A cool wind moved through the trees. Fireflies danced in the shadows. They walked quietly along the river trail. Thala suddenly asked, "When do humans choose mates?" Jake looked surprised. "Well, sometimes it's fast. Sometimes it takes years. Is there a logic?" He shook his head. "Not really. It's emotional. Some say it's instinct. Some say it's magic." She stopped walking. "Magic?" He smiled. "Not real magic. Just something that can't be measured. We fall in love." She turned slowly. "Fall?" "Yeah. Fall in love. Like slipping. Suddenly, you care. Deeply. And you don't always know why." Thyala looked up at the stars. "On Zorhax," she said, "love is a word we removed long ago. It was called a dangerous chemical state." Jake looked at her gently. "Do you think it's dangerous now?" She hesitated. "I don't know. But I think I may be slipping." Later that night, she sat alone in her room. Lights dimmed. She picked up a human poetry book Jake had given her. Touch without reason. Words without purpose. "And yet I ache when you turn away." She closed the book. Her heart beat loudly in her ears. Suddenly, her AI's voice echoed. "Emotional contamination. Stage 3. Behavioral mimicry. Attachment forming. Urgent warning. Royal mind patterns unstable." Thala stood and faced her reflection in the glass. Her face had changed softer, more open, and her lips almost smiled. The next day, Jake prepared a picnic. He spread a blanket under a tree, arranged sandwiches, juice, and 2 small desserts. Thala joined him, curious. "Why are we sitting on the ground?" She asked. "It's called a picnic. Just relaxing, sharing food." She sat stiffly, legs crossed. "I do not relax, I observe." Jake offered her a cookie. She took it and bit in. Her eyes widened. "This is joy." Jake laughed. "You're learning." Then, without warning, a child from a nearby group ran over and hugged Thala's arm. "You look like a space princess." The girl said. Thala froze again. The girl giggled and ran off. Jake watched her. "That didn't hurt, did it?" "No," Thala said slowly. "It felt warm." Jake smiled. "Exactly." Later, Thala turned to him. "You said earlier that humans fall in love. Can you choose not to fall?" Jake's smile faded. "Sometimes we try, but love doesn't always listen." Thala looked into his eyes. Her voice became quiet. "And if someone is not human?" Jake shrugged. "Hearts don't ask species. They just feel." For the first time, Thala looked away. Something inside her cracked open, and it scared her. Princess Thala stood, still in front of the mirror. Her silver skin looked the same. Her glowing purple eyes still showed no age, but something deep inside her had changed. She could feel it, and she didn't know how to stop it. The AI voice inside her mind spoke firmly. Warning. Emotional contamination reached stage 4. Symptoms: warmth, softness, racing heartbeat, hesitation. Origin: human male, Jake. Foster. She ignored the message. Instead, she stared at the small yellow daisy on her desk, the same flower that human child gave her days ago. It hadn't died. She had kept it alive. She had wanted to. That scared her more than any war. Outside, Jake was fixing a small drone near the garden. When he saw Thala approaching, he smiled, but her face was serious. Still calm, still graceful, but her steps were slower than usual. "Hey," he said softly. "Everything okay?" She didn't answer at first. Then, "Jake, is it normal for a human to think about another person all the time?" He smiled. "Yeah, pretty normal." She looked down. "And feel warm inside when they speak?" Jake nodded. "Yup, and feel afraid when they're not there?" Jake tilted his head. "That one too." She looked straight into his eyes. Then, I am infected. Jake laughed softly, thinking she was joking. But Thaela didn't laugh. She whispered, "My system calls it contamination. It says I am changing." Jake stepped closer. "Do you want it to stop?" She hesitated. Her voice was quiet. "No." That night, Thaela walked into the science dome alone. She accessed her private logs, looking through everything she had recorded since arriving. Children laughing, humans hugging, music playing, couples touching without fear. Then, Jake. Always smiling, always kind, always near. She whispered, "What have you done to me?" Her AI voice returned. "Princess Thaela, you are approaching critical failure of Zortak's emotional neutrality. Recommendation: emergency extraction, mind reset. You will forget the human." She said nothing. Instead, she closed her eyes. What if I don't want to forget? The next day, an emergency message arrived from the Zortak's High Council. Jake was standing nearby when Thaela received it. Her eyes flickered. The message glowed in the air. Return immediately. Emotional exposure confirmed. Protocol 7 Alpha. Engaged. Jake read it. Wait, they want to erase your memories? Thaela looked at him. They believe love is a virus. Jake's fists clenched. But it's not. It's the best thing we have. She looked torn. They will take me if I don't go. Jake stepped forward. Then don't let them. She shook her head. It's not that simple. I am royalty. My body is not mine. My heart was never allowed to be mine. Jake whispered, "Then let it be yours now." That night, she did not sleep. She walked under the stars, remembering Earth's strange beauty, the soft air, the smell of grass, the sound of music, Jake's laugh. They will remove everything, she whispered. They will take him from my memory. She pulled out the poetry book Jake gave her. One line was underlined. To feel is to live. To forget is to die while breathing. She pressed her fingers to the page. The next morning, her ship arrived. A silent, silver Zortak's craft hovered above the forest, casting long shadows. 2 guards stepped out tall, cold with no expression. Just like her, once. Jake watched them approach. He stood between them and Thaela. She doesn't want to go, he said. One guard replied, her wants do not matter. She is not human. Jake looked at her. Tell them. Thaela opened her mouth, but said nothing. Then, slowly, she reached out and grabbed Jake's hand in full view of the guards. Gasps filled the forest. Even the Zortak ship's lights blinked. I am choosing, she said. I am not just a machine. I am not just a role. I choose to feel. The guards paused. The AI voice in her mind stuttered. System error. Identity conflict, royal override. Jake smiled. You just rewrote your own code. The ship rose again and left without her. Thaela stood still, hand in Jake's. She whispered, they will come back. But now, I know what I am. Jake asked gently. What are you? She looked at him, a soft smile on her perfect alien lips. A little human, I think. The forest was quiet after the ship left. Jake and Princess Thaela still stood there, hand in hand under the early morning sun. For the first time in her life, Thaela had disobeyed. Not a war order, not a science mission. Something more dangerous. She had chosen to feel. And that was forbiddance. Back in the science center, Thaela stared out the window. Birds flew across the sky. Children laughed outside. Jake was making tea, but her mind was heavy. The Zortaks will not ignore this. She said quietly. Jake poured tea into 2 cups. Let them come. She shook her head. They will erase me. Not just memories. They will rewrite my entire self. I will forget. All of this, even you. Jake walked over, gently placed the cup in front of her, and said, "Then we'll write. Something even stronger, while we still can." She looked up Dot, and for the first time, she smiled, not the confused half-smile of before, but something full, soft, human. That afternoon, Jake took her to a wedding, a small local gathering. 2 young humans. Nothing fancy Dot, but to Thaela. It was a strange ritual of chaos and beauty. Music, dancing, laughter, emotions flowing freely. She sat at the edge, scanning everything. Jake leaned over and whispered, "This is what love looks like." She watched the bride hug her mother. Tears fell freely. People clapped and cheered. "So much energy," she whispered. "So much heart." Jake smiled. "That's why it matters." When the couple kissed, Thaela didn't flinch this time. She stared. Watched and felt. Later, as they walked along the river, Jake asked her, "Do Zordhaks ever love?" Thaela shook her head. "We removed it long ago. Called it a threat to order." He looked at her gently. "Then why do you look like someone who's falling?" "Into it?" She stopped walking. The wind moved her white hair softly. "Because I am," she whispered. "And I do not know how to stop." Jake looked into her glowing violet eyes. "You don't need to stop." She looked down. "I'm scared, Jake. Not of the council. Not even of forgetting. I'm scared of what this feeling makes me become." Jake stepped closer. "It makes you real." That night, she sat in her room with a candle burning. Earth Custom. She recorded a message into her private log. Day 27 on Earth. I have identified the forbidden emotion. It is not a weapon. It is not weakness. It is the strongest thing I've ever touched. Love is not logical. And I now carry it like a second heartbeat. She closed the log and placed Jake's flower beside it. Next morning, she wore Earth clothes for the first time. A simple white shirt, soft jeans, and her silver cloak. Jake stared at her. "You look different?" she asked. "Beautiful," he said. Her cheeks flushed softly. "I believe humans call that flirting." He grinned. "Only if it's true." They walked through town. People waved. Some called out, "Hey, princess." Others offered smiles. But in the shadows, a message waited. A blinking red device inside her room. A final signal from the Zordhaks Royal Council. Jake found it first when they returned. It read, "Return in 72 hours or be marked lost to corruption. Final warning. No second chances." Jake turned to her. "What do we do?" Thaela read the words. Her hands shook slightly. "I must decide soon. Leave Earth or lose my world forever." Jake whispered, "And what about our world?" She looked at him. Softly she said, "Maybe. Maybe this is the only world I ever wanted." That night, she stood barefoot in the grass, eyes on the stars. Jake joined her. She asked, "Will I change too much if I stay?" Jake replied, "No. You'll just become more." Then slowly, Thaela reached out, placed her hand over Jake's heart. "I want to remember this. Even if they take me?" Jake took her hand, held it tight. "Then make it unforgettable." They kissed. Not wild, not rushed. Just quiet, just real, just 2 hearts, 1 alien. 1 human finding each other in the dark. The sky was dark. Stars blinked quietly above the science center. Princess Thaela sat alone on the rooftop, her silver cloak wrapped tightly around her Earth clothes. Her feet were bare. She liked the feeling of Earth's wind on her skin now. She held a small recording crystal in her palm, glowing softly. The final message from the Zordhaks Royal Council echoed inside her mind. Return in 72 hours, or be erased from history. Love is infection. Emotion is betrayal. Obedience is survival. Her fingers clenched around the crystal. She didn't want to go, but could she really stay? Jake climbed up and sat beside her. "You've been quiet," he said. Thaela didn't look at him. "I'm calculating consequences." Jake smiled sadly. "You sound like old you again." She closed her eyes. "Old me wouldn't be scared." He replied softly, "Old you didn't feel anything. That's not living." She looked at him now. "If I don't return, they will call me broken, a traitor. My name will be erased from every record on Zortax. My family will be shamed. I will be nothing." Jake placed his hand gently on hers. "You'll still be you, the one who chose love over programming." They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she asked, "Do you think humans can forget love?" Jake shook his head. "No, we carry it forever, even when it hurts." Thaela looked up at the stars. "Then maybe that's what I want to become, someone who remembers." The next morning, she entered the lab and opened her Zortax link for one final message. Her eye voice, once calm and cold, was glitching now. Half emotionless, half human-toned, Princess Thaela. Final decision requested. Return to Zortax and be cleansed. Remain on Earth and be unknown, she whispered. Unknown sounds peaceful. But she didn't press the button. Not yet. That afternoon, she and Jake took a long walk through the forest trail. Trees rustled gently. Sunlight filtered through the leaves. "I might not be allowed to say goodbye," she said. Jake nodded. "Then let this be the goodbye, just in case." They didn't speak much, just walked slowly, hand in hand. As night fell, the Zortax retrieval ship appeared again, this time glowing red. A sign of judgment, the craft hovered silently over the field where it had first landed. But this time, it was not here for research. It was here to decide her fate. 2 new guards stepped out, colder than the last ones. Their eyes glowed silver, and their weapons were not hidden. Jake stood between them and Thaela again. "Back off," he growled. "She's not yours anymore." The guards ignored him. Thaela stepped forward. "I will come with you," she said calmly. Jake single quotes. Heart stopped. "What?" She turned to him, eyes shining. "Only for one day. Let me speak for myself." The ship doors closed behind her. Jake watched it disappear into the sky. He stood there alone. No goodbye. No promise. Only silence. Inside the ship, Thaela stood before the Zortax High Tribunal, a room of glowing minds and hollow faces. "You abandoned logic," they said. "You embraced chaos," they said. "You have been contaminated," they said. Thaela did not bow. She stood tall and answered, "I learned something you fear. That love is not weakness. That emotion is not failure. That connection is what makes life mean something." The tribunal stirred. One voice whispered, "You are broken." She smiled. "No, I am healed." They gave her one choice: return and be erased, or leave and be forgotten. She walked out without a word. The next morning, Jake sat alone near the garden. The flower she gave him had begun to wilt. Then dash without warning. A soft blue shimmer filled the air. She stood there, silver cloak, bare feet, a little smile. "Hey," she said. Jake jumped up. You came back?" She nodded. "They didn't understand me, so I left." Jake grabbed her in a hug, tight, real. "You risked everything?" he whispered. She replied softly, "You were worth remembering." Later, she recorded a final message to her people, knowing they would never play it. "I am no longer royalty. I am no longer Zortax. I am something new. I am someone who remembers love. And that is enough." The sun had just begun to rise. Soft orange light touched the leaves, casting long shadows across the Earth's forest. Jake stood quietly beside Thaela, watching the birds fly overhead. She wasn't a princess anymore. Not to Zortax, but to him she was still royalty, not because of her bloodline, but because of her choice. Later that day, Thaela sat at Jake's workstation, holding a crystal data recorder. Her fingers trembled slightly as she activated it. "Begin transmission," she said. The small blue light blinked. "This message is not a report. It is not a confession. It is a memory. My name was Princess Thaela of Zortax. I was born without emotion, raised without affection, taught that love was failure. Then I met humans. They confused me, frightened me, and finally, they changed me. I will not beg to return. I will not apologize. I only ask that you do not forget me, because I will remember all of you." She pressed the final command. "Send to Zortax public channel." Jake blinked. "You're sending that to everyone?" Thaela nodded. "Let them see what they tried to erase." Across the galaxy, thousands of Zortax citizens received the message. Some ignored it, some deleted it, but some watched. And among them were young minds, curious minds, those who had quietly questioned the silence in their own hearts. And one of them whispered to herself, "I want to feel too." Back on Earth, life continued. Thaela didn't return to her ship. She didn't run from who she had become. She stayed. She helped Jake with his research. She learned how to cook toast and burn it. She laughed for the first time, loud and unrestrained, when Jake fell into the lake while showing her how to skip stones. Each day, she grew more human and more herself. One evening, they walked together under the stars. Thaela looked up. "It still hurts, knowing they won't accept me." Jake squeezed her hand. "Maybe not now, but someone will. Maybe even because of your message." She smiled softly. "Maybe one spark is enough." Weeks passed. Then one day, a ship arrived. Not Zorthax, but another species from the outer systems. A scholar stepped out and bowed to Thaela. "We heard your message. We want to learn about human emotion. Will you teach us?" She blinked in surprise, then nodded. "Yes, but prepare to be confused." More followed. One by one, ships began arriving. Scholars, explorers, curious minds from across the galaxy. They didn't want weapons or tech or minerals. They wanted to understand the strangest force in the universe, human connection. Thaela became a symbol, a quiet legend. Not for her crown, but because she had done the one thing no other royal ever dared. She felt, she loved, she remembered. Years later, a small statue stood in the Earth Science Center garden. It showed Thaela holding a flower in one hand and reaching out with the other. The plaque read, "The first to feel, a heart once cold, made warm by Earth." Jake stood in front of it on the anniversary of her arrival. She stood beside him, now older, now freer. He turned to her. "Do you miss being a princess?" Thaela smiled. "I don't miss being perfect," she said. "I just like being loved," he whispered. "You always were." Far across the stars, on Zortax, a secret room glowed with her message still, playing on loop, and a young royal boy, no older than 10, placed his hand over his heart. Softly, he whispered, "I want to remember too." The end.